Sechus Nazir Daf begins with a Mishnah and takes us to the end of the first parak of the Masechta. We will be discussing a number of situations where somebody described how long he wants his Naziris to be. We'll have a central machlokas as to how we understand what he means. The Gemara will compare it to other machlokas and explain some of the cases in the Mishnah. So the first case that the Mishnah lists is three sub-cases. Here is where he says, I'm a Nazir, like the hair on my head, or like the dirt of the earth, or like the sand of the beach. So this is a large number of individual items. Here you have a machlokes between the Tanna Kamma and Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, what he meant. According to the Tanna Kamma, he meant a number of Nazirisin. The number of Nazirisin, of disparate Nazirisin he's making, is equal to the hair on his head, the dirt of the earth, or the sand of the beach. Obviously, he can never finish this time. However, he didn't say how long each Naziris is, so therefore it's going to be the standard 30 days, and he can actually take a haircut between each Naziris period. At the end of one, before the beginning of the next one, he can take a haircut. Therefore, he's a Nazir the rest of his life, and he can take a haircut every 30 days. That's a Tanna Kamma. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says no, he's describing one Naziris, and he's saying how many days it'll be. Obviously, it's longer than he can finish in his lifetime, and therefore he is going to be a Nazir forever, and he cannot take a haircut at any point because the Naziris never ends. Next case is where he says, Hare Olai Naziros. I am accepting upon myself a Nazirisin, according to the number of hair on my head, dirt of the earth, or sand of the beach. There, everyone agrees that it's a number of Nazirisin. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi agrees this is a number of Nazirisin, and he can take a haircut every 30 days. This is not the number of days in the Nazirs. Next case is where he says, I'm a Nazir, like filling up a house or filling up a container. Now, here, there's two possibilities as to what he meant, and we have to check it out and ask him. He could have meant, as being Makabal one Naziris, and he's saying it's as hard for me as a full container or a full house. If that's what he meant, then it's one Naziris. He didn't specify the length, so the length is going to be 30 days. If, however, he meant the number of Naziris is equal to filling this house or container, so then we don't know how many things can fit in this house or container, so we're going to assume the smallest possible object, which is mustard seed, and therefore it's a very large number. He can never finish it. And now the machlokes Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and the Tanna Kamma will kick in. According to the Tanna Kamma, he can take a haircut every 30 days. According to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he cannot take a haircut again for the rest of his life. The next case is he says, I'm a Nazir from here to there. So here we assume he means the number of days it takes to travel from here to there. If it's 30 or less, he's a Nazir for 30 days, because there is no Naziris less than 30 days. If it's longer than 30 days, he's a Nazir for the number of days that it takes to travel from here to there. If he says, I am a Nazir as the days of a solar year, that's 365, then he's clearly specifying that he has separate Nazirisin of 360 of 30 days each, 365 of them, and that's how many he needs to keep. Now, the Mishnah ends with saying Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says it was an incident that happened, and they were mechayev someone many Nazirisin as the days of the year, and when he finished the periods of Naziris, he died. The Gemara will ask how that fits into what the Mishnah's halacha seems to be teaching us over here. All right, now the Gemara begins. The Gemara goes straight to the case of the full house or the full container. The Gemara wants to know, why did you fill it with mustard seed? And then you have a very large number of seeds that fill in there. Why don't you say it means to fill it with watermelons or pumpkins or squash or something large like that, and then it's a much smaller number, and then he could finish that Naziris. So the Gemara is going to give a few answers to this question. Why do we assume a large number and not a small number? So the Gemara first wants to say that this is a case where there's a suffix what he meant, and this is dependent on the machlokes. What happens when somebody makes a Naziris misafik? Do you say suffix Naziris l'chumra or suffix Naziris l'kula? This Mishnah holds like Rabbi Shimon, who holds suffix Naziris goes l'chumra. The other opinion is Rabbi Yehuda, who holds suffix Naziris goes l'kula, and therefore we would say that it's really watermelons, and it's a smaller number, and therefore he could finish it. Now, what's that machlokes based on? So that machlokes is in a brisa, which discusses, someone says, I'm a Nazir on the condition that this pile of grain contains 100 core in it. But then, before we get a chance to count it, somebody steals it. Now, we don't know how much was in there. We don't know if he's a Nazir or not. So what did he mean? Did he mean to accept Nazirs upon himself in a case where you can't find out? Now, the problem here is that if somebody's a Nazir misafik, it's worse than being a Nazir Vadai. A Nazir Vadai ends, and he can bring his Nazir's Karbanos, and then his Naziris is over. A Nazir misafik can't bring his Karbanos because on the side that he wasn't really a Nazir, he has to bring, then that those karbanos are chulin lazara, so he can't bring karbanos, so he can never end his nazirus, so it's worse. So according to Reb Shimon, a person understands that, and he makes his nazirus accepting upon himself that if it'll end up with a suffix, he's gonna be a nazir forever, and therefore in this case it's a suffix, that's what ends up. Rabbi Yehuda says a person does not mean to accept upon himself that chumrah, and therefore if he means to say that if a suffix happens, I'll go l'kula. So either way, that would be the pshat here. This Mishnah is holding like Rabbi Shimon, who holds that you go l'kula in the case of a suffix nazirus. That's Gemara's first explanation. Now Rabbi Yochanan wants to say, no, even Rabbi Yehuda would agree that this Mishnah you should go l'chumrah, even though Rabbi Yehuda goes l'kula in the case of someone who's not sure if he became a nazir or not, because you don't know how much grain was in that pile. Here, where you are definitely a nazir, and the question is, does it end or not? There, even Rabbi Yehuda will say you have to go l'chumrah, and therefore we have to assume that he's a nazir forever, because you have to assume he meant mustard seed. So now the Gemara says, why would you say that? Why would you say that this nazirus for sure begins? Meaning, the Gemara means to say that Rabbi Yehuda would even go l'chumrah with it, and Nazirus for sure starts. And you don't know if it ends or not, he would go l'chumrah. He only went l'kula in the case where the question is, did he become a Nazir at all or not? So the Gemara says, well, hold on a second. This Nazirus is definitely going to end at that point, at some point, and the question is there another Nazirus that follows? And that would be when 30 days have gone by, and the number of Nazirus that continues from the number of watermelons that's in this house. So if you understand that his Nazirus meant 30 days, or the number of Nazirus that are in the house, the number of Nazirus that's equal to the watermelons that fit in the house. So when you finish that, so the Nazirus is for sure over. Let's say you can fit 50 watermelons in the house. So then this Nazirus will be over for sure after 50 days. 30 days have gone by and 50 days have gone by. So then there'll be a question is, does he start another Nazirus or not? So that's just like the case of the pile of grain where you don't know, are you starting another Nazirus or not? And therefore, Rabbi Yehuda should agree that you should go l'kula here. So how could you say that Rabbi Yehuda would agree here to go l'chumrah? So Gemara answers no, because maybe really what's happening is Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Since he holds like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, on the tzad that he meant mustard seed, this Nazirus goes on forever. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi holds that it's not a number of Nazirus in which each end after 30 days. It's one long Nazirus. So therefore you can't say that this Nazirus is ever for sure going to end. Meaning, if you held not like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, so I know after 30 days the Nazirus ends no matter what. And the question is, do you start another one? And how many additional ones do you start? According to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, this could be one long Nazirus of mustard seed continuing forever. And therefore you don't know that it ever stops. And therefore Rabbi Yehuda, who is Makel in the case of grain, would agree to be Machmir here because the Nazirus has for sure begun. You don't know if it's ever going to end. The Gemara asks, is it true? Is it correct to say that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi? The Gemara brings two proofs. Rabbi Yehuda does not hold like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Yehuda holds if someone makes a Nazirus which has a number compared to a large number of things, he means individual Nazirus of 30 days each, not one long Nazirus at the number of days is that thing. How do you see that? So the Gemara makes two proofs. In the end of our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda brought a case where somebody said, I'm going to be a Nazir like the days of the year, like the number of days in the solar year. And then at the end of that Nazirus period, he died. Now the simplest understanding of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda is bringing a proof to what we just said, that this is a very long Nazirus. And that possibly is why Rabbi Yehuda quotes the fact that right afterwards he died. According to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, it's not a very long Nazirus. 365-day long Nazirus is 1 year. It's not such a long time. According to the Tanna Kamma, it's 30 years. So then I understand why Rabbi Yehuda is bringing that in. It seems to show that Rabbi Yehuda holds like the Tanna Kamma, not like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Second thing is we have a brisa where Rabbi Yehuda says that somebody says, I am a Nazir like the number of piles of figs that are in the field, or the number of stalks of Shemitah that were harvested. Then he counts separate